Good afternoon. Today we are, the topic we are trying to assess is to enforce drug law into U.S. law. Sorry.
By far, the United States is the world leader in mass incarceration. With an incarceration rate of 707 per 100,000 people, we stay far up on the top. With a population of only 4.5% of the world population, the United States has a prison population of about 22%. This problem not only puts a strain on the budgets of our country, but the communities as well.
So as of right now, 25% of prisoners are in jail due to low-level drug offenses. This is leading to our massive problem of incarcerations. The War on Drugs, which is a campaign that it aims to reduce illegal drug trade, although it's not as intense as in recent years, it is still an ongoing issue. Drug courts are a very proven solution that already are available in some respect. However, mandating them will take it up to the next level. So this led us to ask, should the United States mandate drug courts nationwide?
The answer is yes. Based on our research on the criminal, economical, and political lenses, we decided that implementing drug courts nationwide is the best way to deal with America's mass incarceration problem.
There are many studies that have been dealt with the economic benefits of drug courts, which have shown that drug courts in general in the United States have been very cost effective in comparison to the mass incarceration that the United States has so heavily invested on for years because of the war on drugs. So according to drug court specialists Shannon M. Carey and Michael Finnegan, in a study done in Multnomah County, Oregon, approximately $1,500 was saved per person as a result of implementing drug courts in Multnomah County, when taking into account the many costs that come with the mass incarceration of people. And another study done in Washington by the Washington State Institute for Public Policy, the researchers found that approximately $12,000 were saved per adult and $5,000 were saved per juvenile after the implementation of drug courts, considering that the rehabilitation services were successful and the individual would continue without drugs. In the United States, the traditional American courts have generally needed a much larger budget in order to function, with approximately $34,700 US per individual being used in the traditional American courts. However, in American drug courts, this value has been lowered significantly, with approximately $5,720 US being used per individual, showing that drug courts are generally much more cost effective than the mass incarceration that the United States has tended to implement in the U.S.
Alright, this leads to the effectiveness of our solution. In order to see the effectiveness of our solution, we need to look at the recidivism rate of criminals who have gone through the drug courts rehabilitation program. Recidivism is when a criminal reoffends after their original crime. This is a great way of figuring out whether drug courts are effective, because somebody who has undergone the rehabilitation program should not be going back to prison for the same crime. So as we see here, the traditional American courts have a recidivism rate of 62%, while American drug courts have a rate of only 52%. Though 10% may not seem like a big deal, the amount of time and money saved is invaluable, as shown by Breno's slide, to the American budget and
Many countries around the world have proposed their own solutions to dealing with the drug problem. The Netherlands, European nations in particular, have taken a more looser stance. Particularly, the Netherlands has taken a stance where they've decriminalized all use of all drugs, and they've only criminalized the production of hard drugs. This problem, although it has led to a drug and heroin users through rehabilitation, has also led to the Netherlands becoming a hub for MDMA production and making the drug problem in the Netherlands a problem for the globe. In contrast, the Czech Republic has taken a different stance. The Czech Republic decriminalizes low amounts of drugs, while decriminalizing by heavily criminalizing large amounts of drugs. This has actually proven to be quite effective, as the rate of MDMA users among young adults has dropped from 8% to around 2%. However, this problem doesn't account for the United States, as the United States geography and demographics vary significantly from that of the Czech Republic. And because of the sugar quota's small size in a particular situation, it becomes a lot easier to see how this data may not prove to be overly significant in favor of their solution. However, Canada has demographics and geography similar to that of the United States. And Canada has used a similar solution, yet has made many changes which have actually greatly affected it. For example, the drug courts in Canada are about twice the budget of the United States. This has helped them significantly and has dropped the recidivism rate by a lot. However, because of this increase in budget, drug courts are only allocated to 6 cities, rather than the entire nation. Our solution, however, is offered nationwide, as this problem in the United States is a nationwide problem. The United States has to deal with this issue from east to west, and because of this, we have to increase the budget to that of Canada's, but also offer it in every single state, mandating each state to use our program.
As a result of our solution, there will be many implications. One such implication would be that low-level nonviolent drug offenders would have to be transferred out from the state facilities into where they could be out of them so that they could be tried in drug courts, which would occur slowly in simultaneously with the adjustment of the budgets in federal and in the prisons, and approximately 10 years. And in addition to this, taxes would rise for a couple of years in order to smoothen the transition in the budgets from the correctional facilities into drug courts. And they would rise for about a couple of years, like about 3 years, but would gradually decrease again to normal value.
So implication. So racial tensions may moderately decrease over time because of drug courts. The reason is that there's 67% of low-level nonviolent drug offenders, the target audience for drug courts, who are African American, despite the fact that there are 5 times the amount of white drug users. This has led to the misuse and misspread of certain information on criminal statistics that have been misused, and drug courts will help stop that. And some prisoners will refuse to offer drug courts, which is upsetting, but we feel it's important that it's the criminal's choice themselves to undergo rehabilitation, because if they are not complying, it's never going to work.
Alright, so the incarceration problem will not be solved. However, it is a step in the right direction. If a drug court participant recidivates, that's alright. They'll still be sentenced to their original weight of the original full charge. Another limitation of drug courts is that they often inadequately assess people's needs. Therefore, this can be detrimental to young people, people of color, and women and men all over. So, and also the staff in which they participate in the drug courts is often they lack skill. Once drug courts will be mandated, maybe drug courts will be taken more seriously, and therefore more professions will be available. Considering the United States' mass incarceration problem and high percentage of low-level drug offenders in prison, drug courts allow rehabilitation instead of imprisonment, dealing to the mass incarceration problem. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so time for oral defense. Seti, I'm going to start with you. Brenna, I'm going to end with you. Let's do this. Seti, if you had another team member, what other perspectives or limitations could they have researched that would have made a useful contribution to the project?
If we had another team member, we would have added the ethical perspective. Because of the drug war and the lack of use of drug courts and rehabilitative services, the mass incarceration problem has only gotten greater. Because of this mass incarceration problem, the government has turned to private prisons. Now, the problem with private prisons is that they are very profit-driven. This profit-driven nature of them has caused them to skimp out on life necessities such as food, water, and medical supplies. This is clearly unethical and would have been a great addition to our entire solution as a whole.
Great, thank you. Alex, give one specific way that your thinking changed as a result of learning about Caleb's findings.
So when I first learned about Caleb's findings, I realized that the recidivism rates were actually less than I expected. At first, I believed that after drug courts, I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna commit the same crimes over again. It's not gonna be a big significance. However, after reading Caleb's research, about only 25% of drug court users recidivate after their treatment is finalized.
That's great, thank you. Okay, Caleb, what is a way in which your team's resolution makes you think differently about your own individual research?
At first, I hadn't realized how big the war on drugs was and how important, how much it affected daily lives. But after seeing everybody's resolution and looking at the amount of lives lost and how 50% of all crimes are somehow related to drugs, I realized that it was much more, recidivism was actually very important. Drug courts on a whole were something that could immensely improve society.
Perfect, thank you. And finally, Breno, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem your group identified?
Reflecting on our work, I believe that SEBI's research had the greatest impact on our solution. With SEBI's solution, with SEBI's perspective, we found that there were many solutions that have been implemented in many other countries around the world, such as Canada, Czech Republic, and Netherlands. And we were able to use these solutions to further understand the problem here in the US and help us to identify the solution that would be best for solving the problem of mass incarceration in the United States.
Great, thank you. All right, one big one.
Oh my gosh! We did it!